All right. Hello, friends. Welcome. Welcome from my temporary sanctuary in Chicagoland. I've come home to my birthplace, the place where I grew up, the place where I've been nurtured, where I have spent plenty of my adult life as well. And this is such an incredible and beautiful sacred place where I am. We have five Great Lakes here. And I just came back from England and the Buddha Field Festival. And one of the things that I got to share at the Buddha Field Festival is some of our Seneca Haudenosaunee storytelling. And the story that I shared is the story of the seven worlds. And I didn't have enough time to share the whole story. And luckily, also, this story is captured in a book. It's written down. The title of that book is Other Council Fires Were Here Before Ours. And there's so much in this book, this documentation of this oral lineage. One of the things is actually the language of the stones, because the story of the seven worlds was told to the last matriarch of the Seneca Wolf clan. Her name is Yoga Nidra, she whose voice rides the wind. And her colonizer name, would do for lack of better, is Twyla Nitch, so grandmother Twyla Nitch. And grandmother Twyla was told the story of the seven worlds by her stone person, Giyuk. And Giyuk, we have to remember the Stone Nation, they've been here for all the worlds. Whatever are the worlds that have happened on this earth, they've been here witnessing. And even before this world was made, they were in, we call it the Great Star Nation. I know. And they were present for the creation of the whole thing. And so the historians of Earth are the stone peoples. And then in the animal world, the historians of Earth are the whales, the whale nation. And what I was inspired to share from this story were little snippets of the times where there were changing of the worlds. The Seneca, another gem from the story, the Seneca of Haudenosaunee, they count time in worlds, like an epoch or an age, but not like how we count an age nowadays. Because we would say, like, oh, the modern age, modern era, or we have these other historical and archaeological counts of time that really have to do with some sort of evolution and innovation that human ancestors did. So we got, like, whatever's before Neolithic, I'm forgetting, Catholithic, I think it is, or that might be after, actually. So in archaeological counts of time, we've got, like, we used stone tools, and then we've got, we came up with metal. Oh, that was a big deal. 3000 before the Common Era, that's a real big deal when metallurgy is going to come on the scene. How that's going to change civilization building. Right? So if you just join, we're just talking about counts of time, and the story that I was sharing about the field of the seven worlds is a Seneca Haudenosaunee. Um, our story, and not a history or a herstory. It's literally a collection of our shared history, like shared story, our story. So one question we might have is, well, if seven worlds pass, what happens then? No, you get another seven. They just count in counts of seven. So where we are right now in the count is at the end of the fourth world and the beginning of the fifth world. The fourth world is called the world of separation and control. And the fifth world is called the world of illumination, which is like, well, hot damn. How do we get there? What do we need to be doing to get to the fifth world? That wasn't so much my inspiration for the talk of, like, all right, how do we need to be getting there? But it was really more, can I, within 60 short minutes, share a really powerful message of hope and why wellness spaces and spiritual spaces and community spaces, and even where we were at this giant festival, conscious festival, why these kind of spaces are so important right now. Why is a space like this so important right now? Whether you're live or catching a recording or some other mechanism to come into this digital garden. Why is this so important right now? And also, messages of hope are important right now. There's a lot of despair, a lot of heavy energies, a lot of depression. And then what comes along with that? Apathy, lethargy, inactivity, recoil. So I wanted to share this message of hope, right? And what was so curious about world endings and new beginnings is that new worlds don't begin until the old ones complete. So everything about that, the world that we're currently living in, we can say we're at the end of it. And in fact, we're in an in-between place, in between worlds. But the fifth world of illumination, all this promise of spiritual evolution won't happen, can't happen until we completely tidy up and finish the things of the fourth world, like that. So really, this is like a whole like giant big talk, and I have to try to remember in my fuzzy brain right now why I wanted to start with this today. I mean, part of it is this moon, this place. We'll get to the moon, this place. So, okay, I gotta weave in another thread. So we're braiding right now. We're weaving. I'm just gonna like stitch in like a ribbon right now, right? So this summer, I went on this extraordinary pilgrimage with the Great Mother, the Ancient Mother, and it was so generative. I learned so much. I think I'm experiencing a kind of fatigue, like a bit of a hangover from just how powerful this time was. So we're at the Buddha Field Festival. We're in the UK. This is like middle of July. I'm going to share this lineage story. And there was a piece of the goddess pilgrimage in the story. Had I not gone to Buddha Field or said, hey, I'm going to teach this workshop and applied and been accepted, I don't know. Some other circumstance would have brought this really essential piece of this land where I am right now. I'm in the land of the Sauk, Fox, and Potawatomi peoples, the Miami and Kickapoo peoples. Those are the recent ancestors. This land has amazing prehistoric cities here, not settlements, cities, great trading centers, metropolises, organized, with streets and sanitation, great mound builders. And these Great Lakes and all of the floodplain subsequent waterways create a nexus of movement, transportation, but also pranic, energetic life force vitality, because in the third world, this place right here, before there were Great Lakes here, this was the place of the tree of life. And the tree of life symbol, right? Kind of like as above, so below. So that mirroring of the branches and leaves and the roots, like this. That symbol is super old and often equated with the great goddess. Now we don't know as much about the Greek goddess and her forms in North America and South America as we do throughout the Mediterranean and North Africa. There's lots of historical, anthropological, archaeological reasons of why that's the way that is, scholastic academic reasons of why that's the way it is. But don't think that she wasn't here also and everywhere, right? Her symbol of the tree of life is found frequently in Mediterranean and North African region. We also see that symbol throughout Northern European, Celtic, and so on. It's so much storytelling, y'all, of the movement of peoples, the ideas that travel with them. I haven't seen you as much since I deep dived into Turkey, Anatolia, which was like, but I'm going back in like a few weeks just because of circumstances. So there's more. Like a postscript. One more pilgrimage that has to happen. And those ancient Neolithic, we went to one of the sites, we went to Çatalhöyük, 9,000 before the Common Era, 8765, like pretty old. It's the first city in the like scholastic archaeological story in that view. Current civilizational paradigm. That count started in 3,000 before the Common Era. Well, those people formulated their ideas and such. And guess what they also did? Domesticated cattle, domesticated ancient wheat. This is all that region. Think Tigris, Euphrates River Valley, Mesopotamia, before then. And then those people went on diaspora. Where did they go? All sorts of directions, including Northern Europe, all the way into Ireland, Scotland, all of that. And then what else happened? Ice, climate shift, people move south, Southern Europe. And then when the ice, they moved back north. It's such a fascinating story. And so I'm in the place of the ancient tree of life. And when I put that whole story together, oh my God, I'm born here and raised right, like literally on this lake. I'm like 2 blocks from the lake, right? Like actually 1 block from the lake right now. And there's something that brings me back to this place. It's something that feeds me here. And so when that like aha moment, oh my goodness. As a little postscript to this story, you can't try to align with how we have been taught modern history, timeline, and such. It's so curated for a political agenda, how we have been taught our history, our herstory, and very little of our story. So here we are, yet another full moon. It's August. It's 2025, and it has been a very interesting year. We can now say, oh, wow, we just passed yet another seasonal marker. I do not know how to correctly pronounce the Celtic name of August 1st, which is the midpoint between the summer solstice and the fall equinox. What we find around that point and this moon is a lot about the first harvest, or just the like swollenness of the seasonal moment. The berries are so ripe. If you're north, like right now, the bears are just gorging on blueberries and blackberries in preparation to sleep through the winter. Right? And the corn is full, not ripe, but full. And the sturgeon in the northern Great Lakes regions are fat and sweating. Sturgeon is a great ancestor of these lands. And so this moon, no matter what the astrology of the moon is, but this August moon, this full moon, it's like a swollen, pregnant melon moment. We're gonna know, like, okay, we're gonna get a harvest. Like the things are growing, it's happening. It's really only the modernity construct that has us like, oh no, summer's about to end. Like, oh, school starts and work and vacations. That's all like human construct stuff. But if we could just be free of that and just in the swollen fullness of it all, swimming with the sturgeon ancestors, this is a bright, bright, beautiful moon. We're at the early fruits of the summer labor. And there's more to come. This year, we have an earlier schedule in the South Asian sacred timeline. Right now, this is a month that's quite dedicated to Lord Shiva. And a lot of that is in preparation for Goddess Festival season, which will begin with the 10 days Ganesha Puja. That's going to kick it off. And then we get the fall goddess portal. And that's happening September 22nd to October 1st, 2nd. Quite early this year. Kali Puja. Getting into the wrathful time of year. That's October 20th. So I haven't much looked at the astrology for the autumn season, like what's coming up in the fall. I've just actually this whole year I didn't really look into the year this time because I'm just personally in a very like month by month present way of being that has been very generative. And that's how I've been sharing in the moon circles as well, right? Of like, here we are. Because at every fortnight, at every of these 2-week periods, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. If we just took that high level view back to when, in 2025, when did a lot begin? March 29th. Kicked off an eclipse season or cycle, a lunar, a solar. Saturn changed signs, very significant. The nodes also were in conjunction with Saturn. Ay, ay, ay. There was a stellium in Pisces, a lot of planets happening. So it was just like a big party. What's happening in that party? Some people are loving, some people are fighting. Is it a good party? I don't know. I'll let you know the next day, right? And then we had the nodes shift signs, which actually give a little relief for the pressure in that stellium in Pisces. Rahu Saturn conjunction. And then came the fiery party that we have either been enjoying or suffering through individually, collectively, and globally. And that's this meeting of Mars and Ketu in Leo. So fire, super fire in a fiery place. Rubai sun, Leo's Rubai sun. However, that's been landing for you and for all of us collectively. Violence, war, senselessness, seismic activity, volcanoes, earthquakes, all indicators in these conjunctions. And then that lovely fire party has also been across the astrological chart in conjunction with Saturn. So It's squeezed, it's tight, it's gripped. So I'm talking about this like lovely fullness of the ripening melon, you know, at this full moon, but that's not like the vibe. The vibe is like constricted fire. So pause for a second. How has that been landing for you? I know for me, it has been rough, 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 rough. And Mars, Ketu had their exact conjunction. I'm not even, yeah, Zoom agrees. Okay. So Mars and Ketu had their exact conjunction um, July 21st or 22nd. And then luckily they're like moving away from one another. So pretty much by end of July, we were done with this like Mars Ketu activity in Leo, wherever Leo, sidereal Leo rests in your chart. And then Mars changed signs into sidereal Virgo, where it's in direct conjunction with Saturn. I was like, is it going to let up? No. While it might not be very fiery, Mars wants to charge ahead. Mars is activity. Mars is doing. Mars is action. And Saturn is the direct opposite. Saturn is constriction. Saturn is non-action, like wait, survey the scene, move slower. But again, constriction, contraction, squeeze. And I was feeling some type of way, you know, and I was like, what is going on? I pulled up my own chart and I was like, oh, how long is Mars in sidereal Virgo? It's usually like a 6 week transit kind of thing. Mars is a faster moving planet. And it just went through a very long retrograde thing, so it's not retrograde soon, you know. And so this is a perfect example of how astrology can help, where you're like, okay, it will let up. This is not a forever thing. This is a short term cycle. Let me work the remedies, you know, do the supports, appease Saturn, appease Mars. You know, Saturn wants that like focus on the long term centering of the downtrodden and those in need, being in service, completing your karmas, severity, dryness, and suffering also. You know, and what does Mars want? Mars wants to be fiery, be in action. So it's like slow down Mars a little bit, but express fire energy. So mantra, martial art, movement, activity, you know, active meditations that move the prana chi in the body, you know, kundalini, activating fire, all the things that I was recommending through June and July, you know, like, okay. So we move with the alchemy of the fire and we appease the wind, the vayu of Saturn, or else we could have fire tornado. Right? And so, yes, I'm also glad it will last because emotionally, it's very taxing. It's really at the limit there. And so, yesterday, even though the fiery things were fiery, I hopped on my bike after the beach is officially closed on the sacred lake here. Now, with that little piece of, oh my God, the tree of life, you know, like this place. Let me be in the nurturing of this place. And the full moon it's almost full because it'll be exact. So yesterday was the 7th, today is the 8th. It'll be exact on the 9th, about midday. But tonight will be your beautiful moonrise. And so I went a little bit after the moonrise. So there's a big, big, beautiful moon over the lake. And I immersed my body in the cool waters. and prayed. I prayed hard. I prayed for myself. I prayed for all of you. I prayed for humanity. I prayed for us to remember. And I prayed for this memory. Because this was the other thing. The story of the seven worlds, it's pretty simple what the original transgression was in the first world, and what the transgression was in the second world, and what the transgression was in the third world that destroyed the tree of life. In its place came our sacred lakes. I mean, I'm not crying a tear about the destruction of the fourth world, to be honest with you. I'm kind of like, can we get on with this? Like, but at the same time, honoring, that's very Martian. Like, can we just get on with it? But honoring Saturn. But let's make sure that we complete all the collective karmas all the way to the end. Let us not carry these lessons from the fourth world, which are the lessons of the wound of separation. Let us not carry that into the fifth world. So if that means that we got to suffer a bit more, if that means that this continued grotesqueness, this senselessness, this genocide, that's not to justify any of it. But what I'm saying is, we exist in a larger count of time. And only because of all the accelerants of the moment, of the modernity moment, and colonization and all of its harmful systems, that wounding came with us from the last world, the third world of water. First world of love, second world of ice, third world of water, fourth world of separation and control, fifth world of illumination. There's more, 6 and 7, at least in that count. Even in the first world of love, something happened amongst the two-leggeds. First, there's the egalitarian wholeness and connection. And then there's greed, power mongering, wanting to control others for personal gain. It's that simple, this original transgression. And at the ending of the first world of love was completely destroyed by fire. And there were a few two-leggeds, a little handful of two-leggeds, and some plant ancestors and stone ancestors and things that survived because other beings on Earth kept things deep in the underground. And life could emerge, but when it emerged into the world of ice, it was rough. Even if something could grow, it was small. Even if something was harvested, it often rotted. It was a hard world, a hard era. And this is when the animal nation showed us how to be in relationship and reciprocity with them. And because of them and their sacrifice and their sense of family, familial sense with the two-leggeds, we survived until we got greedy and took more than we should and fractured our right relations with the animal world. And then through the hoarding and the fighting and the stealing and worse, again comes this fracture of like these people and those people Who are these people? These people, and there's the language of this lineage story. These people are the ones who remember. And those people are the ones who forget. They're not part of the stewardship of the remembering, where it all started as the faithful. Not faithful to a all-powerful creator God, but faithful to the laws of existence, one of which is the interconnectedness of all life, one of which is the cycle of birth and death, one of which is the earth laws, one of which is the law of the void, one of which is the law of cause and effect. So in the third world, that greed, that hoarding, that warmongering, that power mongering festered. Now we're back above ground. And in some places we're able to harvest, to generate food, medicine, all sorts of things. But that rot doesn't go away, it festers. And eventually that collective negativity, that separation with the earth and all our relations, the tree of life formed like a mold around it. And it eventually died and was swallowed into the earth with gigantic seismic activity. And so we came into this fourth world to have to, in a very Saturnian way, to have to live out this karma of separation. We have to take the separation all the way to its end, but it does feel like a very bottom, like absolute bottom of the pit. We have to go all the way to the worst expression of ourselves collectively. And I don't know. It looks pretty bad to me. And so what is our job? Our job is to be the faithful. Our job is to cultivate our connectivity and heal our wound of separation. Our job is to caretake everything from the seeds to the knowledge. Like me, I'm a caretaker of the indigenous wisdom. And so I'm doing whatever I can to collect it and stitch it together so that there is something for the 7 generations in the future. You know, preserve the knowledge of healing. And not everything, just what's my lane, what is my calling. But our job is to remember. Our job is to contribute to the dreaming and the world building of that fifth world of elimination. And so that's why I give these astrological updates, not because it's just entertaining. It's also entertaining, that's fine. But because this is ancestral wisdom. These are mechanisms of the ancestors to keep our faith and to keep us focused, pointing our actions in the helpful cumulative direction. To understand, to give some reason of why the collective is in the very senseless place that it's in, and it doesn't seem to be gaining sense. But what is gaining is the reveal. We're seeing more and more and more that which was once hidden, opaque, of the rottenness of it all. The power mongering, the greed mongering, the exploitation, of people, of plants, of animals, of soil, of water. That's why we can't stomach it, because it's all there to be seen now. And it's a lot. And you can't look at it 24/7. Right? It has to be right amounts and lots of time for processing in between. We need to be making our lives as simple as possible right now. That's something that's going to help. Whatever you need to do and whatever you need to accomplish, can you make it more simple? You know, you're doing the thing, big grandiose ideas. Could you make the labor half? Because that's where we're at. We need to kind of get through the rest of summer. It can be one, kind of 2 more months. We're not into the in-between season just yet. Kind of more of a September thing if you're in a northern hemisphere bit. We also have this climate shift. Places are staying hotter longer. Water patterns are shifting. So it could be that your place traditionally cooled down by the end of September, but it's not cool until November. Thinking about Southern Europe, North Africa, places I've been recently. Thinking about the season I spent in these lands here, Great Lakes lands last year, and it was absolutely freaking gorgeous all the way through October. Dry, absolutely lovely, and temperate. And so we got that as a factor as well. Shifting, changing. So let me tell you a little bit more about this beautiful, beautiful moon right now. So this moon, the energy of this moon is more like a new moon in the sense of it's like a quiet, introspective, deep, nurturing, intuitive kind of moon. It's a moon for listening. Listening to the intuitive guidance within, listening to the divine within, without, in all things. It's a moon for oracle, and tarot, throwing the bones, reading the leaves, whatever it is, downloads, and channelings. It's a moon for listening. It's a beautiful moon for mantra, especially Gayatri mantra. It's a moon for drums and sound. And that's different from full moon kind of energy. Now, it's a beautiful moon for rest. So I want to read to you a little bit. Let's get into this moon a little, see what kind of other things, and then I'll share with you a little bit more of the astrology that's just following, just like next week. So this moon is in one of the lunar mansions in the sidereal system called Shravana. It's in the sign of Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, and the asterism is ruled by Moon. The presiding deity is Vishnu or Hari, the preserver of the universe. One of the things that's coming up just near to the new moon, will be Krishna Janmashtami, Krishna's birthday. Very blessed time. So the symbols, right? We always want to know the star, the sign, the ruler, sign ruler, the ruler of the star, the asterism, maybe even what pada it's in, what section, and the symbol. Okay? So the symbol is an ear and an arrow. Really, it's an ear. Okay. The basic attribute is sattva. Okay. So the basic orientation of Shravana is towards the great silence. Remember, it's ruled by Saturn. The great silence on which Mercury subsists. Sorry, not Mercury. I I was just thinking Mercury is conjunct at this moon, but we'll get to it. Okay. So the basic orientation of Shravana is towards the great silence on which background subsists the entire scheme of manifestation, the void. If the individual is still on the materialistic side of evolution under this asterism, they develop the qualities of obedience and service, or service. These characteristics of Shravana emphasize the profound nature of the impulse flowing through it. The primary sattvic, meaning harmonizing attribute, enveloping it, indicates that every impact under it must arouse a deep perception of the harmony that prevails around oneself. This is possible when the personal dissatisfactions an individual feels when confronted with life's problems are set aside. This requires an attitude of complete negation of one's conditioning, complete freedom from the past, the non-expectation of any preconceived results. Such a state of complete attention to what exists in the present moment is the main spiritual impulse of Shravana. So this is definitely repeating what I was sharing about, like, it just feels like being in the right now, time-wise, just right now. This moon, this moment, the non-expectation of preconceived outcomes. Like, what's coming? What's in the fall? What's the rest of the harvest? We don't know. Shravana provides the main impulse that attunes the human personality with its spiritual goal. Mars, whose main function is to externalize the inner aspects of life, is exalted here, providing tremendous courage and endurance. Mercury and Venus, governing two of its quarters, impart harmonizing influences. But the moon and Jupiter do not vibrate harmoniously under Shravana, and we're in the moon section. And their impact on it is not so good. They are related to intelligence, receptivity, and to the channeling of the solar radiation of universal energy. Clarity of vision and direct perception of cosmic laws depend upon these influences. Perception and alertness are essential for attuning oneself to the spiritual goal of life. The role of Shravana is significant in achieving these qualities. The name Shravana means listening. In every spiritual teaching, the act of listening is given much importance. In the Mukanda Upanishad, the teacher and students pray for the capacity of listening together. Oh, quote, "Oh gods, may we hear together with our ears what is auspicious." The voice of silence also states, quote, before one lays their feet upon the ladder rung, the ladder of the mystic sounds has to hear the voice of the inner divine. J. Krishnamurti gives much importance to the action of right listening. He states that it is very important to know how to listen. If you know how to listen, you will get to the root of the matter immediately. If you know how to listen to what is being said, there is immediate understanding. Listening is complete focusing of attention. Buddha put succinctly the importance of listening when he emphasized right attention and right meditation as two steps in the Noble Eightfold Path. Shravana is the stage of cosmic evolution where the individual receives universal impressions. At this stage, one becomes immediately in contact with the beauty of life. One receives immediate understanding as one listens to the voice of the divine within. But such an exalted prize is not obtained easily. For it, one has to suffer materially. Shravana and Nada are two aspects of cosmic intelligence which are intimately linked. Nada is the cosmic sound regarded as the primeval silence from which all of the forces of creation have arisen. This sound of the silence can only be perceived by self-discipline in the practice of yoga. The perception of the voice of the silence resulting from the annihilation of the personality is the result of shravana, of listening in the true sense of the term. The physical basis of this listening is the ear, the symbol assigned to this asterism. Whatever preparation is needed for this perceptive faculty is the result of shravana. One pointedness of the arrow is an essential requirement for right attention as required in the Noble Eightfold Path. It is represented by the arrow, the other symbol of shravana. The arrow is an ancient sign suggesting the substantial amount of preparation by the individual necessary for attaining their spiritual goal. The sign Sagittarius is symbolized by the centaur who shoots an arrow representing higher aspirations. The Upanishadic literature uses the arrow in a similar sense. Pretty much everybody uses the arrow in this sense. In the Mukunda Upanishad, the soul aspiring towards divine is compared to an arrow, while the great mantra Om represents the discipline essential for attaining the goal. Under this impulse, all peripheral activities are trimmed, though the reduction may be full of painful sacrifices. Such a preparation is made so that the inherent reality of the individual and of the manifestation around them is revealed. Vishnu, or Hari, as the presiding deity, relates this asterism to the cosmic preservative principle, whose primary function is to harmonize and eradicate all impediments to the growth of the soul. In this role, Vishnu floats on the sea of primeval matter, reclining on the coils of the Sheshanaga, the cosmic serpent. And you know what he's doing while he's doing that? Yoga Nidra. He balances all the divergent forces and harmonizes the rough sea of worldly existence. He works to help the evolving soul out of turmoil and encouragingly guides it along the evolutionary path. In order to guide the soul on its perilous journey, Vishnu creates situations in which the aspirant relinquishes asat, the false, and embraces sat, the true. Sat Chit Ananda. This radical transformation requires clear perception of one's nature, one's true nature, beyond the veil of ignorance. Under Shravana, one begins to perceive the truth of the manifestation concealed in the illusory appearances. This unveiling results in the tearing of the old and transcending of the hard crust of primeval ignorance. It is always a trying experience. The lordship of Saturn over Capricorn, which contains this asterism, contributes to the hardship. Shravana is not an asterism of comfort and enjoyment, but one of difficulty and disillusionment. The trying experiences it gives can only be borne with endurance and patience. Yogic teachings give instructions for the necessary psycho-spiritual preparation. On such a path of listening to the pure sound of the cosmos, nada, it is essential to have a sound intellect bestowed by Mercury and good intuitive insight granted by Venus. These allow the individual to seriously set foot on the path and move toward the attainment of their enduring goal. The endurance of personal pain and suffering in order to listen to the cosmic voice without any distortion is possible only with the benediction of a strong Mar. Before the voice of the cosmic great silence is heard, there must be persistence, be the persistence of a mongoose and the eager intellect of a monkey. But these make the individual isolated from their friends, turn them away from society, and make them live in a world of their own. This is the life of an outcast. Yet, having gone through these ordeals of Shavana, the individual is ready to function as a human of knowledge. So much there, right? We described this Mars Saturn conjunction right now. Like, how do you work with that? That could be really constrictive, destructive. What we're seeing Mars Saturn play out. And Mars Saturn has such a critical and important relationship. We need the ambition of Mars to fuel the Saturnian journey. We got to see this through. I'm just looking for a couple notes that I had. So Mars in opposition to Saturn, also Neptune is there too, can be an indication of violence, social unrest, political upheaval, military offensives, dangerous storms, seismic events, and its effective orb is August 1st to 11th. Other outer planets, like while we're here at the collective, right? So remember, we look to the outer planets when we want to see like what's happening in the collective realm. Uranus and Pluto are in favorable sextiles. It's a certain type of conjunction to Neptune and Saturn. That's really interesting. That's all the outer planets, right? Which can indicate some cooperative forces at play. Yet at the same time, Neptune and Saturn will be at the midpoint of Uranus and Pluto. This aspect, along with their opposition to Mars, might point to a significant shift brought about by major forces. Mercury is also in the mix with this moon because Mercury is with Pluto. It's actually opposing Pluto, which can signify tensions, pressures, fanaticism, propaganda, paranoia, and fierce disputes. So again, this is called a kite pattern. It looks like that, like a kind of a kite shape. It's potent, it's intense, and it's a real complex mix of energies. So what it suggests is the potential for significant personal upsets, geopolitical events, as well as tremendous breakthroughs and turning points. It could even have a positive impact on markets, which is funny, like this. So so we've got this like internal landscape of the moon, your mind, the things we just read, what we're getting into, the role of action and ambition. What's the aspiration? It's a complete spiritual journey. It can be isolating, it can be lonely. It's breaking things down. They are dissolving. It's the completion of karmas. Big picture. It's serious. And then we got this like collective, like, is this chaos? Is it breakthrough? Is it both at the same time? I don't know, but we're going to find out. And we got front row seats. Right? So, a couple other planetary things that are coming up just following this fun moon energy, and that, and maybe we'll put fun in quotes, and that is Mercury has been retrograde. Mercury is going direct on the 11th. Like that. So if things have been delayed, if you've been enjoying technological snafus, give it a second. Also, give it a little bit of time for things to get going. Mercury has to pass over. So it went retrograde and it has to pass over that shadow, like where it went. And so we're going to gather, collect, integrate over the next 3 weeks after the 11th. And we're going to do some letting go. Okay. Mercury has been in sidereal Cancer. It's been retrograde since July 18th. If that's ringing any bells. As Mercury moves forward, you might feel like letting go of stuff. Let go of stuff. Let go of stuff. As you let go, you may gain new insight, mental clarity, a little bit of emotional ease. I sure like all of that. By August 25th, which is just after our new moon, Mercury's done with its going back over its post-retrograde shadow, and we'll be complete with the Mercury retrograde cycle and on to the next. What else is happening this week? August 12th is the conjunction of Jupiter and Venus. So Jupiter and Venus have been hanging out together for a couple of weeks. In sidereal Gemini. And they're going to come to their like tight conjunction. We call this a planetary war. Venus will probably win because Venus wins a lot of the planetary wars. This is like two gurus meeting. The guru of the demigods and the guru of the gods, the Asuras and the Devas, are meeting. They're not really going to get along, but it could excite something. Let's see what are the little gems. So this orb of influence is August 2nd to 14th. And you could see them in the pre-dawn sky. You can see Venus will be the brighter one just above Jupiter. And this could be something positive in the United States chart, actually. It's going to conjoin the US chart natal sun in the 7th house. So it could be something good for partnerships and international affairs. Generally, this conjunction represents an expansion of curiosity, creativity, conviviality, communication, along with heightened optimism and positive fortune. Venus is the planet of peace, wealth, love, and beauty, whereas Jupiter is the planet of wisdom, abundance, expansion, and good luck. When these two powerful planets come together, their positive qualities can expand and blend quite beautifully. Where is Gemini in your Vedic chart? You get that because it's popping off in there. Those themes. Okay. At the same time, this conjunction of Jupiter and Venus have their planetary war on the 11th and 12th. Sometimes that can initiate explosive events and excessive behavior like overindulgence. Okay. So you got to see where sidereal Gemini is in your chart because that's where this is popping off. And we got to, kind of bend the vehicle towards the positive influence because it's huge positive influences. I had the dates incorrect. Krishna Janmashtami, the birthday of Krishna, is August 15th to 16th. It's a beautiful, beautiful time. It's the 8th day in the month of Shravan, so August, September month. And this is like another boon, another uplifting energy for us, um, in terms of our spiritual journey and our spiritual purpose. So keep that one around 15th, 16th. If you love Krishna, it's your day to offer all your Krishna offerings, to sing chants. There's definitely a Hare Krishna day. And then keep in mind, August 19 to 23, the balsamic moon will be our resting phase leading up to the new moon. Like this. We're going to get a new Venus transit beginning August 20th to September 14th, sidereal Cancer. It's going to be very sensitive, very watery. Like this. And August 23rd, new moon in Leo. And Shani Jayanti, Shani Amavasya, the new moon of Saturn. I swear to God, y'all, full circle here. We're not going to escape Saturn, okay? Everywhere we turn, it's going to be Saturn. And that's why I shared some of this lineage story with you in the beginning, coming full circle. Your suffering, the suffering of your loved ones, the suffering in your community, the suffering of your nation, the suffering in your hemisphere, the suffering of the globe. There is a reason. There is a purpose. But if you are trying to avoid the suffering and escape it, you are not living the purpose of that suffering. To bring this back to global events, let us not shy away from this difficult conversation of genocide, of war, of famine and starvation. Why must it be this way? It doesn't have to be this way. This is a choice. It is a choice by those who hold power to not value anything other than material wealth. And this has been the illness, the wound with us since it all began in the first world of love. This is our flaw, our inherent flaw. We have to be present with what is happening. We have to try to help whoever we can help. We have to live our purpose and cultivate ourselves to be of service in our purpose. We have to do that in a way that honors Saturn's long-term outlook. We have to play the long game. There is no easy way through this dying of the worlds that we are experiencing. Justice is hard to find at this time. You must continue to better yourself, to be engaged on the spiritual path. That is the only purpose of right now. And that's what's going to move us to the actual end of the fourth world and into the promise of the fifth world of illumination, which is the further evolution of the spiritual journey. This is the full moon download. I'm going to pause it here for integration and digestion. And we can have a little check-in time. I think that'll be grand.